Welcome to the deep dive. So we got this fantastic stack of research from you all, and it's not about the huge, far-off goals like retirement, but something much more immediate. It's about nailing that very first big financial win.
That's exactly it. Our mission today is really laser focused. We're talking about building that foundational $1,000 emergency fund.
Okay.
And look, this isn't just about having some cash handy. The research is super clear. This specific goal, hitting that $1,000, it's a powerful psychological tool.
How so?
Well, it stabilizes you right away. It builds this incredible saving momentum that's hard to stop once you start.
But why $1,000? It always feels a bit random. Like, why not 500 or 1,500?
Yeah, it sounds arbitrary, but it's actually quite deliberate. It's designed to basically absorb the most common little financial shocks that knock people off track.
Like what specifically?
Think about it. $1,000 usually covers, say, your basic car insurance deductible if you have a fender bender,
Okay.
or most surprise medical copays, or it could cover, maybe 1 or 2 weeks of absolute essentials, groceries, gas if something happens to your income.
So it quiets the immediate panic.
Precisely. Hitting that number just cancels out so much of the mental noise, the anxiety that comes with financial fragility. That mental freedom, that's almost more valuable than the cash itself.
That makes a lot of sense. The freedom from worry.
Exactly. And the data backs this up as a habit builder, too. There was this Bank of America study, pretty interesting, actually.
Oh, yeah.
It found that 70% of people who managed to save that first $1,000, they keep going. They keep saving aggressively.
Drop 70% is huge.
It is. It fundamentally shifts your identity. You go from being someone who wishes they could save to someone who actually is a saver. It's like the gateway goal that guarantees you'll keep moving forward.
That identity shift.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Okay. Enough about the why. Let's dig into the how.
Yeah.
We need a system, right? A target and, importantly, a timeline.
Right. We need to make this feel achievable, not like some endless slog, more like a sprint.
A sprint, I like that.
That's why the sources often point towards something we're calling the 100-day rule.
The 100-day rule. I saw that. The
Yeah.
math is just beautifully simple, isn't it? $1,000 divided by 100 days. That's just $10 a day.
$10 a day.
It feels completely different than thinking I need to save $1,000.
Yeah.
$10. That's like skipping 2 fancy coffees or something.
Totally manageable. And crucially, it has built-in forgiveness. Because let's be real, life happens. If you have a crazy day, miss your $10. It's fine. You just put in $20 the next day.
Ah, okay. So you catch up immediately.
Yeah. It stops that all-or-nothing thinking where people mess up once and then just give up entirely.
That's smart. And there was that visual trick too, right? The grid.
Oh, yeah. The gamification aspect. Instead of just watching a number creep up on a screen, which can feel slow.
Yeah. Demoralizing sometimes.
The idea is print out a simple grid, 100 squares,
Okay.
like on a piece of paper. Yep. And every time you save $10, you get to color in a square.
Ooh, I like that. Makes
Yeah.
it physical. You see the progress filling up.
Exactly. Visualization is powerful. But, okay, the grid is nice, the math is simple, but we still need to find that $10 a day consistently.
Right. Without, getting a whole second job.
Exactly. So the strategy is key. We need to focus on the quickest ways to cut some spending and maybe generate a little extra cash.
Okay, let's start with the cuts. The low-hanging fruit, as they say. What did the research point to first?
Well, one of the biggest, easiest wins, just cutting one takeout meal per week.
Just one.
Just one. Think about it. You swap that, say, $15 or $20 delivery meal for something you cook at home. Maybe do that twice a week instead of eating out.
Okay.
You're instantly saving around $30 a week right there.
$30 a week just from changing 2 dinners. Wow. That's 3 days worth of saving right there.
And the other big one, subscriptions. The silent budget killers.
Yeah, yes. The streaming service you forgot you had, the premium app.
Exactly. Just canceling one unused subscription. Or even downgrading, like switching from paid Spotify to the free version with ads.
Right.
That easily frees up another $10, maybe $15 a week. These little automatic monthly drips, they add up way faster than we think.
Okay, so cutting is good, gets us partway there.
Yeah.
But the sources also talked about generating money, right?
Yeah.
Accelerating the income side, using stuff we already have.
Yes, absolutely. And often the highest return here comes from, believe it or not, decluttering.
Selling stuff.
Yeah, just commit to selling one item per month. An old phone sitting in a drawer, clothes you don't wear, books.
Okay, like on Facebook Marketplace or something.
Exactly. FB Marketplace, eBay, whatever. It might sound small, but selling one decent item a week can bring in a surprisingly big boost. Easily $40, maybe even $100 a week.
$100 a week from old clutter.
Uh-huh.
That's basically making your junk pay for your financial stability.
Pretty much. And then there's the automation side of generating cash. Roundup apps came up a lot.
Right. Explain those quickly for anyone who hasn't used them.
Sure. So apps like Acorns or Capital Money have free options. They link to your debit card every time you buy something.
Like coffee.
Yeah, say you buy a coffee for $4.25. The app automatically rounds that up to the next dollar, so $5 in this case, and takes that difference, the $0.75, and sweeps it into a separate savings account for you.
So it's like saving without even thinking about it, pennies at a time.
Exactly. It's unconscious saving.
Yeah.
And those little bits of change, they can easily add up to $20 or $30 a week without you feeling it.
That's clever. Plus, there's the cash back thing too, right? For essentials.
Mm-hmm. Just making a simple switch. Using a cashback app like Rakuten or even just a cashback credit card specifically for things you have to buy anyway, like groceries,
Right.
that can realistically generate another, say, $15 a week just by getting rebates on your normal spending.
Okay, wait. Let's add this up. So cut one takeout meal. That's maybe $30. Cancel a subscription, $10, $15. Sell one item, $40, $100. Use a Roundup app, $20, $30. Plus cash back, $15.
Yeah, look at the potential there. If you combine just the simple things, you're pretty reliably generating somewhere between $60 and maybe $150 every single week.
60 to 150 a week. That completely changes the timeline.
It really does.
Suddenly, that 100 days, which sounds like over 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
it could actually be more like, what, 7 to 17 weeks.
Exactly. You could potentially hit that $1,000 goal much, much faster. Makes it feel like a real project you can tackle now, not some far-off dream.
Okay, that's motivating.
Aww.
But speed is one thing. Keeping the money safe is another. You mentioned it can't just sit in checking.
Absolutely critical. If your brain sees it in your main account, it subconsciously registers as available to spend. We need a fortress around this fund.
So that brings us to the system rules, the no-touch account rule. Sounds serious.
It has to be. Step 1, you need to open a separate savings account, preferably a high-yield one, an HYSA.
Separate is key, not linked too easily.
Key is separate. Online banks are great for this, Ali. Capital One, 360, SoFi, tons of options, often no fees. And the interest rates, the APYs, are decent right now.
Like what kind of rates?
We're seeing things like 4.5%, maybe even 5% annually. So your emergency money actually earns a little something while it's sitting there.
Okay, good. Step 1, separate HYSA. What's step 2?
Step 2, name that account. And name it something forceful.
Like?
The research suggests literally naming it something like emergency do not touch.
Okay, blunt.
Make that boundary crystal clear every single time you happen to glance at it. It reinforces the purpose.
Got it. Do not touch.
Okay, step 3.
Step 3 is the magic. Automation. Set up an automatic transfer that targets $70 a week, the $10 a day average.
Yeah.
Schedule it to move automatically from your checking to that do not touch account, ideally on payday.
Ah, so it's gone before you even really see it.
Exactly. Out of sight, out of mind.
Ah.
Can't spend what's not easily accessible.
This whole automation thing, it perfectly sets up that classic principle, right? Pay yourself first. It's the absolute foundation. Warren Buffett nailed it. Do not save what is left after spending. Spend what is left after saving.
It flips the whole script.
Completely. So the action is payday hits. Before you even think about bills, rent, anything else, that first hour, boom, that automated $70 transfer happens.
It goes straight to the emergency fund.
Straight there. Then you just figure out how to live on what's left. It takes the willpower out of the equation each payday, removes decision fatigue.
Okay, system built, account set up, automation running. Now, we have to protect it from ourselves, right? Impulse control.
This is where most savings plans fall apart, isn't it? The impulse buy.
Definitely. So the research had this really interesting behavioral hack for that, the 24-hour want rule.
Yes. This is designed to put some serious friction between you and that shiny new thing you suddenly desire.
Okay, how does it work? 3 steps.
3 steps. So you see something non-essential you want, a gadget, clothes, whatever. Step 1, don't buy it. Instead, take a screenshot of it and note the price.
Okay, screenshot and price. Got it.
Step 2, the mandatory waiting period. You must wait a full 24 hours, no exceptions.
Let the initial excitement wear off.
Let that dopamine rush fade. See if you still even remember it tomorrow. Then comes step 3, and this is the kicker.
Uh-oh.
If, after 24 hours, you still genuinely want that item, you are allowed to buy it only if you first sell something you already own that's worth twice the price.
Wait, sell something worth double the price first?
Double.
That's intense. That makes it almost impossible you'll actually buy the thing.
That's the point. It forces a real cost-benefit analysis. Is the joy of this new thing worth the hassle and loss of selling two things you presumably valued at some point?
Wow. Okay. Talk about friction.
Extreme friction, but incredibly effective. The sources claim people using this rule rigorously can save an extra $200 to $500 a month.
Just by killing impulse buys.
Just from that. And where does that saved money go? Straight into the emergency fund.
So that rule alone could potentially get you the $1,000 in just 2 to 5 months. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got defense. What about offense? Turbo boosts. The one-time hits.
Right, the accelerators.
Yeah.
These are for when you get a sudden influx of cash. The rule here is commit it immediately.
Like a tax refund.
Tax refund, perfect example. Don't just let it evaporate. Commit, say, 50% of it directly to the do not touch account instantly.
Okay. What about gifts? Birthday money, holidays.
100%. If you get cash gifts, earmark every dollar for the emergency fund. Think of it as gifts for your future, more secure self.
Makes sense. And work windfalls.
Same rule, overtime pay. A
Yeah.
bonus. Commit 100% of that unexpected extra income straight to the goal. You were living without it before, right?
True.
And the research also highlighted using maybe one dedicated weekend for a specific side gig.
Ah, like a quick burst of effort.
Exactly. Things like TaskRabbit for odd jobs, maybe some focused dog walking, even selling plasma, which sounds intense, but it's a one-off effort.
How much could that realistically bring in?
Depending on the gig, easily $100 to $300 in a single weekend, potentially. That could be a huge chunk, maybe cover half your remaining goal right there.
Okay, so the fund is built, it's growing, maybe getting turbo boosted. Now we really have to defend the fortress, right? What are the traps?
Oh, the traps are subtle. The biggest one is usually internal. That little voice that says, oh, it's just $50. I need it for something not an emergency. I'll put it back next week.
Yeah, the self-negotiation. How do you fight that?
The counter move recommended is to ask yourself very pointedly, is this a true emergency or is this just an inconvenience?
Ooh, good distinction. Example.
Your fancy coffee maker breaks. That's an inconvenience. You can make coffee differently. Your roof starts leaking and water is damaging the ceiling. That's an emergency.
Okay. Only genuine emergencies get access.
Only true emergencies. And then there's the external trap. The friend or family member asking to borrow money. Super awkward. The sources suggest establishing a very firm, clear boundary up front. Something like, I'm so sorry, I can't. I keep that particular savings locked away strictly for emergencies, and I literally can't access it for anything else.
That's the expectation. It's not personal, it's policy.
Exactly. These boundaries have to be non-negotiable. Treat that $1,000 like it's insured vault money, not a loan pool or extra spending cash.
All right, so you fight off the traps, you automate, you cut, you sell some clutter.
Yeah.
And boom, you hit that $1,000 milestone. What happens then? We need to celebrate, right?
But
Carefully.
definitely celebrate. Acknowledging the win is crucial for momentum, but the ritual needs to reinforce the achievement, not sabotage it. It's a four-parter.
Okay, lay down.
Part 1, screenshot that balance. Capture the moment you hit $1,000. Proof.
Okay, so part 2.
Write it down somewhere private, a journal, a note on your phone. I did it. Hit $1 on date. Lock in the accomplishment mentally.
Okay, part 3.
Celebrate, but celebrate cheap. The goal is recognition, not a spending spree that undoes your hard work.
Right.
Go out for a nice coffee with a friend you told about the goal. Buy yourself that paperback book you've been wanting. Something small, under $10, that feels like a treat.
Smart. A reward, not a reversal. And part 4.
Part 4, immediately level up. Don't stop the momentum. Hitting $1,000 proved you can save systematically. So set the next goal.
Which is usually?
The true security blanket. 3 to 6 months worth of essential living expenses. The $1 was the training wheels. Now you're ready for the real bike ride. Keep the saving habit going. Just aim higher.
Love it. So, stepping back and looking at all this research, it feels like the core message isn't really about the $1,000 itself.
Not primarily, no.
It's about the proof. Prove to yourself that you can actually take control of your finances, set up systems, and follow through. It's a behavior changer, first and foremost.
That's the fundamental truth here. It rewires your relationship with money and your own capabilities.
Okay, so for everyone listening who's feeling motivated right now, let's boil it down. Quick start checklist. What are the absolute must-do actions, like today?
3 critical things to do before your head hits the pillow tonight, if possible.
Go. Action 1.
Open that separate high-yield savings account online. Takes maybe 10 minutes. And name it Emergency Do Not Touch or something similar. Get the separation and the ATY working for you immediately.
Done. Action 2.
Set up the automatic transfer. Right now, log into your checking account and schedule that $10 a day or $70 a week transfer to your new emergency account. Make it effective on your very next payday. Automate it now while you're thinking about it.
Okay. Auto transfer set. Action 3.
Pick one small, concrete win for this week. Either find one subscription you can cancel today or identify one item in your house you can list for sale this week. Just commit to one of those.
Got it. Open the account, set the transfer, pick one cut or one sale item. Those 3 steps alone put you firmly on the path.
Absolutely. You'll be well on your way to hitting that $1,000 goal, potentially in just a matter of weeks if you combine a few strategies.
Fantastic.
And this whole process, it really brings up a final thought, something maybe to mull over. We've seen how powerful automation and that pay yourself first rule are for finances, right? Pre-committing resources before they even hit your main account.
Yeah, it takes the decision-making stress out of it.
So the question is, what other areas of your life could benefit from that same principle? Think beyond money. Could you pre-commit time to an important project before your day gets crazy? Pre-commit energy to exercise or mindfulness before the demands of the day drain you?
Interesting. Applying financial discipline principles to time and energy accounts.
Exactly. Where else could pre-commitment and automation help you achieve goals by getting resources allocated before distractions have a chance to derail you? Something to think about.